Greetings, nerds. So, color mixing is a very complicated subject, and it's also a very simple subject. I personally think this is a very easy subject, but anytime I talk to people within miniature painting, they think it's a little bit complicated. So let's simplify it while also making it more advanced at the same time. So first off, CMY, not correct. RYB, not correct. The reality of it is you want something called a split primary palette or a dual primary palette. What this is, it's a quinacridone magenta, a red. I use pyrrole red, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue green shade, and some yellow. I use bismuth vanadate because it's opaque, and I like the vibrancy of it as well. But you can use a lot of different yellows. You don't need more than one yellow, but if you want a transparent yellow just so that you have one, go nuts. Now, you can replace the phthalo blue green shade with cobalt teal if you want something more opaque as well. But the reason why you want a palette like this is, we'll put this into action here. But your CMY, when we look at a color wheel, it's going to invert outwards. This is known as the Kubelka-Monk theory. Basically, it's a mathematical equation for predicting color mixes. And yeah, you can use math to predict color mixes. Kubelka-Monk is not perfect, and I'm not going to go over the math for it here because that's unfun physics math. But just knowing that the effect exists is all you really need to know. But as I was saying, if we go to here, quinacridone magenta, it's going to stretch outwards. So when we mix it with phthalo green blue shade, we're going to get something a little bit unusual. So we take our quinacridone magenta, our phthalo green blue shade, go with that brush, mix them together, and we get a violet. As you can see, that is in fact a violet. We just mixed a red and a green together to get that. And if we add more green to this, we get a blue. A little bit more. Get a nice dark blue right there. All right. This is because quinacridone magenta ventures outwards, not inwards towards gray. So this is venturing outwards to a higher chroma. This is the reason why we use a red as well, because if we try to do that with a normal red, our pyrrole red here, we'll get a brown. Or black, if we have too much green in there. Red, get more brownish of a color. This is because the red is inverting inwards towards gray. So our ultramarine blue here, this is a red shade ultramarine blue. So this is a warm ultramarine. There is a cool tone one from Liquitex that you can use instead, but yeah. There we go. There's our ultramarine blue. We're going to mix a very vibrant purple here with quinacridone magenta. But if we try that with ultramarine blue and pyrrole red, we're going to get a muddy color. As you can see there, because it's, as I said, inverting inwards towards gray. This is the important thing to remember. With yellow, yellow is a weird color. because it's not part of the primary of light, we don't see it correctly. It's a mixture of both green and red light. So we're seeing a bastardization of it. But it's a primary because you cannot mix it. You can mix red out of both yellow and quinacridone magenta. We can get a red, as you see there. We can get a blue if we mix cobalt teal and yellow together. We can get a blue, or cobalt teal and quinacridone magenta. We can get a blue. Right? Looks more purple. If I add a little bit more cobalt teal, it'll turn blue. But the theory's there. The thought is there. Now, if we do our phthalo blue-green shade here, and we do this magenta, we get a very similar violet to what the ultramarine is, though it is different. But if we try to do the red, we're going to get another very muddy mixture. Very blackish brown color again, because it's inverting. The reason why you want two blues, you want a warm tone and a cool tone blue, generally speaking. Because yes, color temperature is weird. It's relative to what's on your palette. Now, the ideal thing is to have an opaque cool and a transparent red shade or warm shade. But this is all entirely up to you if you want to do that. You can use two different phthalo pigments if you want to as well. Now, when we try to mix a green, the reason why we want ultramarine here, though, and the red, is because we'll get a more muted green. It's less vibrant. That's more true to life. Something more like a grass green. But if we mix the yellow with the ultramarine blue, or the phthalo blue here, we're going to get that more neon green that we want a lot of the time. So different characteristics of different pigments really do help, and understanding those pigments really go far. That's really all this is, the basics of color theory, or the basics of mixing. As you see, we just mixed a ton of different colors here, and we can mix any color we want. Let's mix a flesh tone real quick. Okay? We're going to need white for this, and we need more yellow. Grab our white. Flesh tones are considered very hard to mix, but I'll simplify that real quick. If you haven't watched my skin tone video on the theory on how to do it, I'd suggest you watch that, but here's the basics of it. So first we mix a orange. Now we want brown, so we need a little bit of blue. Mix a brown, and then we mix in white. And you have your flesh tone right there. That's all that is. That will mix just about anything. Now, in order to shade it, the typical idea is to add blue, but no. You want to add a little bit of violet in. So, tiny bit of quinacridone magenta. a little bit of violet, we can get that shaded effect. Because the whole thing is that when you try to mix blue in to shade skin tones, it's going to look like a 5 o'clock shadow and not like a skin tone shade. Skin is green. That's the reality of it. So you base your thing with green and you'll call it verdaccio, and you'll get a lot more effect from it. And that's where we get into part two of this, undertones and how those work. Have a good night or something. Bye. Still don't know how to end videos.